in this vein that people should think about is you want to intentionally build the business to know, is there a goal in terms of that value of the business that's important to you so that you know that it's at a place where if you sell it, you're going to have what you need in that next phase. So oftentimes, unfortunately, I see the business never really gets to the owner the value needs because they're not really building it in an intentional way to achieve a certain value. And they're kind of hoping against hope that some buyer's going to come along and seriously overpay for their business. That happens on occasion, but that's not really a strategy. That's wishful thinking. On the other hand, I also see where the business owner waits and the business is actually worth exceedingly more than they're actually going to need in the next phase of life. That sounds like a pretty good position to be in. And certainly it is. But really at that point, it comes down to risk allocation. I'm currently working with a company in the metal building products space. So they help build metal buildings. They do the manufacturing, the steel, and it's a great business. And when we first started talking to this founder, he said he didn't want to sell for several years. And we asked why. Well, he wanted the business to be worth $200 million. That's great. Why? I don't know. Sounds like a good number to tell my friends at the country club. Sounds pretty good at a cocktail party. The business is probably worth between 110 and 130 today. So the path to 200 million, these are the things that you're going to have to do over several years. But, Mr. Seller, why don't you have you talked or worked with a financial advisor, someone on the estate planning side? And we recommended that. And he really hadn't. He hadn't done any of that work. And so he went away, worked with an advisor that we knew to do a full workup on his financial situation. And what the advisor found is consistent with what we see a lot of times, right? 95% of his family's wealth was tied up in this business. And he had aging parents that were going to need care. His kids are starting to end their college. As he was thinking about working with this advisor to understand what are all the things I want to do with the money? Okay, I want a great mountain house. I want to help my parents retire. I want to give the kids a good foundation, and I want to give a bunch of money to charity. Okay. So after he had listed all those things and he still had way more money in the business than he was actually ever going to need. And so at that point, it was really about risk allocation and realizing, man, I'm in this industry, this construction industry, right? That can be pretty volatile, and tomorrow's never guaranteed in that industry in terms of, how the real estate market is going to go with new buildings. The long story short is he ended up deciding to move forward sooner, even though he wasn't near his $200 million number, to protect the wealth he had created, because it simply wasn't worth the risk to keep all the eggs in that basket.